North of Trois-Rivières, Quebec, fall arrives early in Mauricie National Park. Here, Mother Nature paints in orange and red. Trees are a big part of this park's story. Rich mixed wood forests blanket the landscape. But they've been picked over.
What we see today is not the forest, the original forest. It's been shaped and remodeled by the forest exploitation.
Now, thousands of logs are clogging up the park's lakes.
Our lakes and streams have been very much destroyed through the logging activities.
And what was left has grown wild and is now a danger to the park itself. Forests may come and go in Mauricie National Park, but the animals that depend on them do not. Every fall in Mauricie National Park, when the temperature drops, deciduous trees burst with color.
And they change in a variety of hues and a variety of color, going from the yellows to the red and the oranges. And mixed with the coniferous trees that are stay green, it creates this tapestry of incredible colors. And this probably lasts for a couple of weeks during the fall.
The park holds more than 500 square kilometers of rolling Canadian Shield landscape, just a few hours' drive northeast of Montreal. In fact, a parkway runs through the southern end, 63 kilometers of hills, turns, and spectacular Laurentian vistas. Cyclists love these roads. And today, more cyclists than ever know about Mauricie National Park, thanks to this woman.
I was the only one who knew about this gorgeous place, you know, when I was on the national team. So I said, one day I will do something here. It's so beautiful that I want to share it with the world. So it was on my bike.
A few years ago, Marie-Josée teamed up with the park to launch a yearly event called DefiVéloMau. What started 3 years ago with 700 participants now has to be capped at 1,500.
We are the only race in North America that have a closed race for the day. And in this beautiful scenery and everything that it's make this very unique in Canada and North America.
The parkway is shut down for 7 hours, giving people lots of time to make it to one end and back again. That's 53 kilometers with 42 hills each way. Like a great stage show, the park's presentation looks rugged yet pristine. But backstage, its landscape is in dire need of repair. For thousands of years since the last ice age, these mixed wood forests grew largely undisturbed. White pines dominated these forests. But then the Europeans arrived.
They started in the 1850s with the logging of pines for the British Navy. And then later on we had about 70%, 75% of the forest has been cut by forest companies for pulp, for making paper.
The number of white pines dropped from 15% of the total forest to only 1%. The situation was made even more unnatural and dangerous when fires that would normally regenerate a forest were quickly put out. Left untouched, highly flammable brush grows and accumulates on the forest floor, turning the forest into a fire hazard. To get rid of that brush and to regenerate the white pine, the park takes the power of fire into its own hands and plans for a burn.
We use fire because it always used to be the natural process which drives the evolution of those forests.
They use rivers, streams, and roads to contain the fire. Around the perimeter, they spray. As soon as they have the exact meteorological and environmental conditions they need, they light the fire. The goal is to burn as much fir and birch as possible to give the white pine the space and sunlight they need.
The fire will open the canopy, remove competition on the ground, and just create some space for young pines to germinate and grow and survive.
White pine trees are pretty well suited to toughing it out in forest fires.
They are so big, the lower branches are so high from the ground, and the bark is really thick when they are adult, big trees, that they easily survive even an intense surface fire. So we burned that area last spring, and basically we can see that we remove a lot of the understory, and also we open the canopy, which is really what we're looking to do.
Just 15 years after a burn, this regen is now plush and green. Regenerating the forests is one thing. Restoring the logging damage underwater is an even more monumental task. Fall in Mauricie National Park is typically quiet. You can hear a few cars, some canoers, and an occasional loon. But moving water is the only constant in the park's soundscape. The park's character today is largely the result of the most recent intense ice age. 20,000 years ago, a glacier 20 times taller than any of these hills covered the entire park.
Can you imagine the thickness of that piece of ice, the pressure it put on the Earth crust? And when it melted, after a while, the Earth crust kind of lifted back. So you ended up with kind of a series of lakes that in way back past may have been interconnected, but now, because of the effect of the Earth crust lifting, kind of separated into smaller lakes.
A 150 lakes dot the landscape. Some are small, bog-like, and tucked away. Others stretch out and wind around, great for long canoe and portaging trips.
We don't allow any motorboats in this park. So when the canoeist gets on the lake, it's silent.
People have been canoeing in these lakes for thousands of years. Along this cliff, underneath a bar protecting it from erosion, you can see evidence of that human history.
Well, what is really interesting here is that we have petroglyphs. And these petroglyphs have been made by First Nations. So it's a nice souvenir that we have from this period of history here in the park. We're not sure exactly, but we think they are 2,000 years old.
Why the petroglyphs are here is still a big mystery. This is a canoe world. But water only makes up 7% of the park's surface. The rest is forest. The two environments worked hand in hand when the area was actively logged. The effect of that activity can still be felt underwater.
The way they cut this pulpwood was, it happened in winter. So the trees were cut, and then the logs, they were transported on the ice on lakes where they built dams before, so the water levels were very high. And then in spring, with the thaw, they opened the gates, and then it's like flushing a toilet. All the wood and all the water, they just thundered down the streams to the bigger rivers, like the St. Maurice rivers, and then they were transported to the paper mills.
The process worked, but not all of the logs made it out of the lakes.
Of those dams, we still have about 20 of them within the park, and they maintain artificially high the water levels of the park, which has a big impact on erosion, because the water line is most of the time near the forest floor, so trees fall into the lakes.
This was one of those dams clogging up the lake that was creating abnormally high water levels. When they got rid of most of the wood in the dam, lake water levels dropped 50 to 60 centimeters. Parks Canada is now halfway through a major restoration of its lakes. The goal is to return them to a healthy, natural, pre-logging type of environment.
In this one lake, we took around 13,000 logs. It's quite amazing, yeah.
Each wet log weighs about 1,200 pounds.
We're using this ramp here to winch them, so it allows us to keep the edge of the lake nice, so we don't disturb all the ground.
Making matters even more difficult for the park, beavers are opportunists. They take advantage of the old dams and logs to build their own dams.
What happens if beavers dam a lake, especially the smaller lakes, often you get a much higher productivity and lower oxygen levels, which means that you often have winter kill.
The main victims are fish. And for the park's many animal inhabitants, living in a healthy and safe environment really is a matter of survival. Mauricie National Park in Quebec is in the heart of the Laurentians. Tourists flocked to this area well before it became a national park in 1970. These fishing and gaming lodges used to belong to private clubs where rich Canadians and Americans would vacation.
Those fish and game clubs, in order to improve hunting and fishing opportunities for the member, they decided to stock with exotic fish species.
We have about 20 fish species in the park at this moment, and of those 20, 80% they are introductions. And they compete with our native species, which is mainly the brook trout.
Today's fish population is far from what had evolved in these lakes for thousands of years. So Parks Canada is cleaning up the lakes, removing competing species, breeding the trout, and reintroducing them again.
We hope to get back to what was a natural state in this park, where the brook trout was often the only species present.
This park is a wilderness on its way to recovery. It's also a wildlife sanctuary where animals and their ecosystems are protected. Despite the park being a natural refuge, animal sightings are quite limited.
La Mauricie is not a park where you will see easily wildlife. The wildlife is generally well hidden in the forest, and once in a while you have a chance to see a moose or a bear. If you're very lucky, a wolf. Beavers is easier, but it's not really a park for wildlife observation.
One species that's been around for thousands of years is the wood turtle. But spotting one is rare.
The turtle has an important role in the native mythology around here. North America is called Turtle Island. And there is a legend that says that the world was created on the back of a turtle. So turtle basically has a very important significance for First Nation.
The wood turtle is an endangered species in Canada. The park sits at the northern edge of what's generally considered to be the biggest population in the country, with 300 to 500 individuals.
We talk in nature conservation about viable populations, and generally we talk about 300 to 500 female reproducing species to be able to maintain the population and keep them safe from non-foreseeable things happening. If we talk about this population, we are exactly at the limit of this viability. So it's critical. And we hope to be able to get the number of turtles up in a way to get them out of this danger range.
To bolster the turtles' numbers, they've introduced more of them to the park. Maybe one day their population might be viable again. But until then, the researchers monitor many of the turtles using a radio tag.
Oh, et là, Mario, regarde, juste sur le bord.
On va faire les manipulations. This turtle is a number 402. We follow them since 10 years inside the park. And that's a female. We don't see injuries. She seems in good shape. 1200 grammes, 210 mm. 210 mm.
After they take its measurements, they release the turtle to see where it goes next.
This way we can determine where they move, what habitats they use. And for us at this moment, what's important is what habitats they will choose within the park and do they stay within the park.
Come fall, it's time for baby turtles to surface. The park places cages over the nesting sites to protect the hatchlings from hungry predators. Very few of these hatchlings will even live until the spring.
I believe at this moment the situation is critical, and if we do nothing with regard of this species, then we might lose it in the coming 10 or 20 years.
Species and ecological restoration takes a long time. It takes years to restore a species, and decades or even centuries to restore a forest.
But it's so long to get resolved that we just decide to start now and do something.
It's hard to predict how it will all come together as the park's many restoration projects take root. The more lake dams they remove, the more the water levels will go down, and the more sandy beaches there will be for the turtles. Mauricie National Park might be a park in transition, but when it comes to its ecological integrity, they're in it for the long haul.